Welcome to Business Talk here on Business Tech, South Africa's #1 business news website. And I think every business owner needs to keep accurate and timely accounting records, management accounts, whatever it is. So I think bookkeeping becomes that vital part of the business, but it's also that part of the business that most entrepreneurs, most small businesses, it's something of a grudge purchase. They like delivering a service. They found a way to better a product and innovate, but it's the bookkeeping that really is right down there at the bottom of the list. But it builds the business's financial foundation, and that foundation is where you will base all of your business decisions. So to say it's critical is probably the understatement of the century. And to talk about the role of accounting software to help you make those decisions more timeously and more accurately, I'm joined now by Jeff Ryan, Managing Director at AWCape. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael. Great to be here. Thank you for having us.
For those who might be unfamiliar with the brand, can you just tell us a little bit more about the role that AWCape plays in the accounting software space, particularly in that small to medium-sized business segment?
Sure. So AWCape is a Sage business partner. We're one of the few business partners that's Sage only. And by that, I mean, we only look to Sage solutions to help our clients. Doesn't mean that we wouldn't have expertise to bring in other products, because we've got very strong automation integration, but we primarily focus on helping businesses using Sage products, whether that's the selling of the software, the implementation, or the support thereafter. But as you kind of mentioned there, the accounting side is generally the grudge purchase and generally actually where they'll get most value. Managing cash flows in a small business is really important to keep them in the game for a lot longer.
And obviously, the goal of a business is to have these current, organized, reliable records of the company that you can rely on. And I think hiring the best talent for your team then in that department becomes critical. But I often look at software in the same role. Having the best software becomes critical. And with that in mind, I think you're very well positioned to talk about the value that accountants can bring to small businesses, including helping businesses minimize tax bills. And I think at this time, businesses are just looking for every single avenue to help reduce the burden on the business. How does that work?
So yeah, I mean, I can give you the experience from my first year university accounting exams where I couldn't get the balance sheet to balance and how frustrating that was. And I think that's a lot of people's experience or understanding of accounting. And I think we've progressed quite a long way with software that a lot of that's done for you. So, you know, as an entrepreneur, you want to be focusing on sales and business development. You really don't want to be sitting in the detail and listening to accountants and listening how many things are on the wrong side of your trial balance. Yeah. So really what you want to be doing is having software that kind of automates those processes, but it's kind of also the sub processes outside that really make small businesses tick over a lot quicker. So you know, there's still a lot of businesses out there that keep those boxes of receipts and kind of hand them over to accounts at a later stage. But you know, everything should be digital now. Everything has moved so far, so quickly that everything should either be driven out of your bank statement directly into your accounting system, which Sage does really seamlessly, yeah, or otherwise your accountant should be adding value to better looking and forecasting your business. And I've always wanted to do something like this for small businesses when I was working at Sage. You probably have quite a few listeners that are cricket fans, and you watch that WASP score that comes up on the bottom left-hand corner about the predicting whether or not the team's going to make it based on how many wickets, how many overs left. Yeah. And I thought if you could have one sort of indicator on a dashboard for a small business based on their accounts. So an accountant says to them, listen, your WASP score, for lack of another term, is about 20%. Your business is not going to be here in 2 years. You want to get that up to 80%. I think that would give the motivation to entrepreneur to listen to the accountants and add real value to that business.
I love the analogy. I'm a big cricket fan as well. And it's all about runs on the board versus wickets, I guess. And for the business, that would be almost like your cash flow, your run rate. You know, how much cash are you bringing in? And I think accountants can really help simplify a small business's financial system, optimizing cash flow.
Exactly. And I think, you know, the role, and let's take that cricket analogy a little bit further, it's gone to almost a coaching role. So you've gotten it used to be a very much standoff relationship, and you know, they did the accounts for you and told you what happened in your business. And then it's kind of progressed to telling you what's happening in your business right now. But the real value accountants can add now is what's going to happen to your business based on what's happening in your business right now. And it's not just the accountants that are doing that. It's the AI, the machine learning that's been built into these systems that can really, one, prevent issues happening. So there's a couple of systems we implement which say Intacct has a GL outlier, so prevents inaccurate transactions being put in before they actually become an issue. There's a whole lot of ones that have automated timesheets, so they make it easier for you to actually put your timesheets in for employees. But that's where the value is for, and the coaching that an accountant can give is, how do we help these small businesses get the most out of their business? Where should they be focusing? What are the areas they're falling short on? And that's where I think accountants should be playing going forward to help small businesses.
Yeah, and it's so much more than, I mean, you might have a small business owner out there who's pretty proficient in Excel. I've never seen a business make a loss in a spreadsheet, but having that AI overlay over that really helps you make far more accurate forecasting. And I think for a business, especially in this environment where you see, I mean, Jeff, if you just look around you, forecasting anything in such an uncertain environment becomes extremely, extremely difficult. So that's really a big help. Now, accountants obviously can focus on optimizing a business for profitability. When you use this kind of overlay, how does that work? If an accountant was previously telling you what happened in the business or what is currently happening, how can they optimize for profitability into the future?
So there's a couple of ways and strategies they need to look at it. As you said, cash flow is just one element of accounting assistance. And I think that's, and it always goes back. I remember someone once told me, he says, your revenue is not your bank balance. It's not the same thing. You may look like your turnover is doing really well, but how much have you actually spent in the month, and what is your overall net profit for the business? And that's a concept a lot of small businesses owners don't get. And then further than that, they don't understand that they took out a loan at the beginning of the business. So the sustainability on the balance sheet is really poor. So they're actually not making as much money as they think they are. And they're probably going to go under in about a year or so. So I think it's very much around combining the short-term understanding of where your business is to manage your expenses and your income, focus on the sales or minimize your costs in the short term, but look at the long-term profitability. And I think, one of there's an Accenture research out there that said they've studied businesses over this COVID period for the last 3 years. And what they said is the digital leaders, so businesses that have invested 70% of their IT budget in new technology, as opposed to 30% on innovation and 70% on maintenance. So they've flipped their budget around. Those have got 5 times the revenue growth that other businesses in their same industry have. So they've become market leaders by investment in technology. And I think that goes back to what you said about a grudge purchase. If you see it slightly differently, this is no longer a grudge purchase. This is something that's an investment in your revenue growth for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, it reminds me of a conversation I was having on the evolving role of the chief data officer inside an organization, the CDO. And it used to be, well, you're compliant, you're ensuring that data privacy issues are being looked after, but that's being flipped on its head as well now. And it's more looking at that data as the new gold, and how can you leverage the insights from that data? And much like accountants looking to leverage that data using technology, how do you see the accountants actually engaging with this new technology? Is it something that you are seeing happen more and more? Is there something of an education that has to happen between the accountant and the small business owner? How is that conversation going?
Yeah, so I mean, it's an evolution of the accountant in general in the finance world, and you see it more and more as the bigger businesses, but also at smaller levels. The CFO is also the CTO. You find it, or at least the CIO or CTO will be reporting into the CFO, because the CFO is the person who drives the business strings. But if he doesn't understand how to leverage technology, the business is not going to move forward. So taking that on a small business perspective, where your CEO, your CFO, your CTO, you're also marketing and everything else, you really do need to have to understand where technology can make an advancement for you, but obviously leverage off someone who's got an accounting background, and that's why then generally bring in an accountant in your business and really work together with them to see how you can leverage that. And there's so many opportunities for that to actually happen by looking at the right skills. You talked about Excel there. Excel is not a bad tool, but it's not the best tool, but it might be right for the purpose at that point in time for a small business. So you've also got to gauge around where your budget is and what you actually need. What are your focus area? What's your core critical competencies? And that's why we also look at outsourcing models for a lot of businesses ourselves. There's things that we don't do as well as someone else. We'd rather pay the service to someone who does it better. Why would you think about hosting a server in your own environment and having your mate come across and service that server? Or look at a cloud-based system that is supported by someone like Sage with international exposure, 13,000 employees, a dedicated partner for compliance and data security. So to your point about the CDO, do you really need a CEO in your organization, or would you rather outsource that for a trivial fee per month?
Yeah, and ensure that you are then getting best of breed. I think, for a small business owner, that's the beauty, because it's peace of mind. And you can also throttle it up and down as you need it. If you talk about technology-based solutions here, do you have a few examples of how these are helping accountants during this process of looking at a small business's books and evaluating how the business is doing financially?
Yeah, so I mean, we're constantly, funny enough, seen almost as that accountant person. So we come in with the background from a technology perspective and put these systems in place. And because they're so advanced, they are giving those insights into the business. And also because of our sort of experience from implementing systems, we put them in place with these really nice dashboards and reporting. And it almost gives them insights into their business that they never had before. And it's mainly because if you look at most businesses, the month-end close would take about 2 weeks. The accountants have to get through that box of receipts and etc. And so the information was never real time. Now you've got systems that are literally real time. Things are happening and capturing, and you're getting a real time up to date. So the accountants then say to them, listen, after a week of month-end close, you need to look at this. This is something that's come in here. You need to really manage this right now. So it's not waiting for a month. It's not waiting for 2 months. And we see that across the globe. There's a very strong driven accounting practice in the UK, where there's a lot more reliance on accountants. I think there's a little bit more in South Africa reticence around paying for that accountant, that grudge purchase, like you said. They'd rather do it themselves. But the value that accountants can add as that coaching person is phenomenal, and it's worth the investment.
Yeah, and back to my earlier point, just about having management accounts that are there almost, on a daily basis, because I mean, increasingly businesses have to make decisions that are agile, that are quick, or else you're going to be left behind. Because if you're not doing it, your competitors certainly are, and then that changes how you're potentially servicing your competitors' clients that you want to bring into your own market. So, I mean, obviously, it has become clear during this conversation, I think the ways that accountants can help small businesses are improving massively if they've got access to the right technology. Now, that's the big if here. Can you just unpack how accountants are bringing that value to small businesses in their technology-driven accounting solutions?
So there's a couple of solutions that Sage offer from the small business market there, and we've been talking mostly about accounting, but as you just said, the insight you get in your business is not related only to your accounting insights. So a lot of the systems now, it's around the integration of your systems. So there's 3 primary areas of a business, unless you're doing a lot of manufacturing, but it would be your accounting, your finance, and also your payroll and HR, and then your CRM, which is your customer management. If you're on top of that as a small business, you're doing phenomenally well. So Sage offers sort of combination packages where your payroll and your finance system is completely seamlessly integrated. So you get a good insight on what your costs are, how you're paying employees, but more importantly, how motivated your employees are. And it sounds a bit strange to say that you're getting from a payroll system, but effectively, if people are taking more leave days, or you've heard about the great resignation, and there's attrition rates, and you can get really great insights. And these systems now are getting so good that the accountant can pull up from their finances, pull information from other systems, and do a comparative. So we've got a really big client at the moment that's in the restaurant business, and he's putting in statistical information to relate to the financial. What is his profitability per square meterage? What's his profitability per head count? What is his cost of actually the supply chain and getting the deliveries? And what's the lead time I need? There's some amazing insights you get in your business when you've actually got fingertips on the pulse at that point in time that accountants were never previously able to give to their clients.
It's just an amazing array of examples there of the kind of value that you can be bringing into your business. Now, just as a concluding thought here, what advice would you have for a small business owner, an entrepreneur out there that's looking to bring in an accountant to help them with their finances and looking at that part of the business to say, right, we've survived COVID. And I think if you're a business that survived the last 2 or 3 years, you're already in that top kind of 5%. And now you're looking to grow. You want to leverage. You want to say, right, we're opening up again. How do we approach this?
Yeah, so look, AWCape is a small business relatively, and we work with a lot of big clients as well. So we know the difficulties of small business. I think when you bring in an accountant skill set or finance background into your business to holistically look from an unbiased perspective, and I think that's one of the things that the value you can't underestimate. Having someone with fresh eyes, with a helicopter view of your business to give you an insight that they have no prejudice towards. that already gives you a different insight in terms of things that are happening on your income statement, on your balance sheet. So regardless of the technology. If you then look to the sort of outsourcing model, or to actually them using a system for you in terms of one of the Sage great products, then they can quickly give you insights a lot more than they would just from their skill set. So I think that would be the two ways to leverage is look at them as an outside advisor to come into your business and give you fresh eyes when you don't have the time to do that. Get their consulting expertise, and then you make utilization of the systems that they recommend, because that will improve your productivity and efficiency in your business as well.
And I think that fresh set of eyes is absolutely critical. And sometimes if you're too close as an entrepreneur, you can't see the wood for the trees. And that's why I like that analogy of the coach. It's that coach who's going to help you pick the length, as we've been seeing some players do quite well in the IPL recently. Jeff Ryan, thanks so much, Managing Director at AWCape, for sharing a little bit more about the role of accountants and accounting software. So critical for small businesses here on Business Talk. Take care.